When we lose our African connection, we lose our rural connection. When we disconnect ourselves from Africa, we cease to be a world people. Without the African connection, we are a disjointed people begging for the entry into somebody else's house.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
High School, the Labor Day project for this area. IRFM is part of that team. And so we'll be joined in the studio this morning by Member of Parliament Jolyon Silvera, and also that's Principal of the Taki High School, Mr. Basco. Both will be joining me in the studio this morning to talk about the way forward for Taki High School and also about the Labor Day project. So Jolyon Silvera, of course, is a Member of Parliament for Western St. Mary. All right, and another issue that's been in the news and on our lips and in our consciousness for quite a while now, and this is not a new issue for Jamaica, and that is the campaign to legalize ganja, or in some cases a campaign to decriminalize ganja. So we do have both of those campaigns ongoing. A friend to the program and author and journalist Barba Blake Hannah has, through change.org, sent out a petition asking that the Prime Minister of Jamaica sign off on a few things, including wiping the records clear of all non-violent cannabis-related criminal convictions as one of the first step towards legalization. My sister Barba Blake Hannah will join me on the phone lines this morning to talk a little bit about the petition, go through the different, I think it's 12 points, no? 4? All right, 6 points that are directed at the state, at the government of Jamaica, and I think in particular to the Prime Minister of Jamaica, and she joins me on the phone line to talk about that this morning. Also, we've got the music in between, we've got the local and international headlines, and IRFM's Sunday Sports Diary, a preparation mode in which the Ministry of Health has gone into here in Jamaica in preparation for the virus, chikungunya, to hit Jamaica because it is now in Haiti. I find that so mind-boggling that in 2012 there was this just information that we picked up by doing research and by tapping into some of what the CDC and others were talking about. The chatter, I'd like to call it, in 2012 was that there was a chance of a possible outbreak of a virus called the chikungunya in Jamaica in 2012. But it's not until 2014 that the Ministry of Health is responding, well, not responding, but actually saying, and thank you very much, Joy, because it was the Jamaica Gleaner that had this information. Well, it was also the Observer, I think. It says the Health Ministry says it's only a matter of time before chikungunya reaches Jamaica following detection of the mosquito-borne virus in nearby Haiti. That is very interesting. Extremely interesting for me. It says earlier this month, which is May, The Caribbean Public Health Authority declared that the chikungunya virus, has reached epidemic proportions in the Caribbean. But there were in other areas, and as I said before, the chatter in other areas coming out of the CDC in 2012 was that this was going to happen. I am not saying anything, I'm just questioning, the coincidence, and for me, there are no coincidences. All right, so the virus, which is carried by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, was first detected in the Caribbean in December last year in St. Martin. Last year meaning 2013. And so last Sunday, the Health Ministry issued an advisory stating that the authorities have been taking the necessary precautions. To the phone lines to speak about and to speak with, first of all, the Director of the National Influenza Center, Dr. Sandra Jackson, lecturer at the University of the West Indies, consultant microbiologist specializing in virology. And we're talking about a new virus in this segment of the program. So you've been having the flu. This is an interesting situation because so many persons have said this to me personally, that they have been having flu-like symptoms. They're not sure if it's a dengue. They don't know what it is. And then we are asking questions and finding out that there is indeed a new virus to Jamaica. We're joined on the phone lines, as I said, by the director of the National Influenza Center, Dr. Sandra Jackson. Dr. Jackson, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
We're doing well. Hope you're okay too. All right.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Jackson, here's the situation. The name of the virus itself will come to you in a little while, but so many persons have been experiencing this unusual illness. Don't know if it is flu, don't think it is dengue, and people are a little bit confused. But I'm surprised that we have not heard about chikungunya, which might be what a lot of persons are experiencing. Is it something that is now pervasive in Jamaica?
Currently, laboratory results and evidence show that it is dengue that is primarily circulating in Jamaica now. Mm-hmm. However, there is this virus, as you said, chikungunya virus, of which we are on the alert for, we are looking out for and surveilling for this virus, but it has not been introduced into the country as yet. Mm-hmm. We are looking for the introduction of it into the Americas, but to date there is no evidence of sustained local transmission or imported cases.
And by sustained, you mean? There's no evidence of sustained.
There's no local transmission occurring.
There's no record of the virus in Jamaica.
No, to date, no. We are surveying, active surveillance. It may occur in the future. Mm-hmm. And the Pan-American Health Organization, yes, along with the World Health Organization and CDC, have actually initiated increased surveillance activities, mm-hmm, in association with trying to detect this virus should it be introduced into the Caribbean region.
All right, so that when we have persons being told at the clinics, for example, that no, it's not a flu, no, it's not dengue, but it's very similar to dengue, even though they haven't named it, you do not believe at this time that it is chikungunya?
I do not think at this time we don't have any confirmed evidence that it is chikungunya.
All right, because we've had cases, and I've had personal cases in my own family where children have been told that, listen, it is not this, it's not that, but it looks like it might be something else, even though that something else has not been named by practitioners. So this would be what possibly, even though it's the same treatment that you would give dengue, for example.
Right. Well, we have to understand, that there are many different viruses that can actually cause presentations similar to that of dengue. Mm-hmm. It's not just dengue. Although dengue has a classical presentation, there are other viruses such as an enterovirus and enteroviruses and other arboviral infections that can cause similar presentations. And another important finding is that these viruses, when you do the test for them, mm-hmm, it depends on when actually the sample is taken and the type of test that is done. Because when you're exposed to a virus, initially the body has to mount an immune response.
Yes.
and form antibodies. By an immune response, I mean your body reacts by producing antibodies. And many of the laboratory tests, what they look for is actually the production of antibodies to the particular dengue virus.
All right.
So if the person presents very early, you may get that antibody being negative.
Okay.
But if they go back a little bit later, then you will find out that, yes, they tested, the test has now converted from a negative to a positive.
All right.
So the timing of it is important.
Okay, so let's go back to chikungunya. That Jamaica is on alert. You're looking out for this. You're watching out for a possible introduction of this virus into Jamaica. Where is it prevalent now?
Right now, it's prevalent in Europe, in Asia, and in the African countries, such as in Australia as well, is having quite a few cases. Areas like Cambodia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, New Caledonia, but also importantly in French Guiana, cases have been detected in these countries.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the virus. How does it present?
It presents, as we said, similar to that of dengue. How it is going to present and differentiate from dengue is that the joint pains are a little bit more severe than that of dengue. And the rash is a little bit different. Whereas in dengue, sometimes you will get petechial rash or pinpoints or little hemorrhages.
Yes.
You are not going to get this with chikungunya virus. The pain behind the eyes, that is very intense with dengue. You are not going to get this kind of pain. It's not going to be as severe with chikungunya virus. Also, with the rash, the difference with the rash with chikungunya, you can have more of what we describe as a maculopapular or a flattened rash, and sometimes it's also maybe a bit raised and form an appearance of pustules or raised skin.
Okay.
So, but you also have some cases that can present with a little bit more atypical or unusual findings, such as confusion, cardiovascular problems where the patient may have feel pain in the chest. They call this a myocarditis. Or sometimes renal problems can occur where the kidney becomes affected. But these are, as I said, not usual cases. These are the more severe cases. And these more severe cases are usually seen in older persons.
All right. Why are we on alert, Dr. Jackson? Why are we watching out for this?
This disease, as I said, just as with other viral diseases that have been introduced into the Americas, which have come from a epicenter in Asia or in Europe, such as the West Nile virus, once they start in one particular continent and you see continued transmission and spread, then the rest of the other continents and subcontinents start to survey and look for the introduction. It is important, as I said, because we need to know exactly what is happening in terms of the epidemiology of the different viruses being introduced into the country.
The virus itself is called chikungunya, and
right.
So it's an interesting name. Explain that to us. Where did this name come from, and which country?
This chikungunya is, as we know, it's a mosquito-borne virus, and it was first described in Africa, in Tanzania, in 1952. And the name chikungunya, it comes from the Kimodonde language, which means to become contorted or bent up. And this was the term given to these persons because they had a stooped appearance because they were suffering so much from the joint pain. So as I said, the joint pain, you can get this with dengue. You also get it with chikungunya, but it tends to be a little bit more severe in chikungunya. And in addition, sometimes it can persist for a little longer.
We've been talking and writing about this on our Facebook page, and one of the comments is an interesting one because I saw that in the research too, that this was this virus itself has been considered as a use of biochemical weapon. Can you tell us anything about that? Have you heard anything about that?
I have not heard anything about that, and I don't think that chikungunya could be used as a weapon for biological warfare, simply because it is transmitted via the mosquito, and the mosquito would have to bite one person and then incubate the virus, the virus to replicate within the mosquito, and then when the mosquito is feeding again, when during it on another person, then it would introduce it into the second host. So just the mode of transmission alone would make it a little bit difficult for it to be used as a weapon of biological warfare. But however, knowing what is occurring today, it is possible that a person somewhere could alter the virus. But to date, I do not have any evidence of that. I have not read it.
Okay. Speaking with Dr. Sandra Jackson. She is the director of the National Influenza Center, a consultant microbiologist specializing in virology. Considering that we're on the lookout for this, we're expecting that this might present in Jamaica, how should persons be prepared for something like this and recognize it when it comes in? What should they do?
Well, it's going to be difficult for an individual, for myself, to actually say, I have dengue versus I have chikungunya. Mm-hmm. What I would say, dengue has some features that are characteristic of it, such as the retroorbital pain, etc. And you know that with dengue, you can proceed to having the dengue hemorrhagic fever. With malaria, we're not having any malaria transmission here, but in other countries, when you have the undulating fever, you have a particular pattern to the fever, but we're not having any local transmission of that now. Mm-hmm. For leptospirosis, it can present similar to dengue as well, and to chikungunya, but with leptospirosis, the calf muscles sometimes are more involved, and you can have hemorrhage, subconjunctival hemorrhage, and leptospirosis. As with dengue, sometimes you can have the yellowing of the eyes, what you call jaundice, etc. Mm-hmm. But there is no clinical way for a doctor to actually look at you and say you have chikungunya versus that you have dengue. Laboratory tests would have to be done.
Okay. And once again, just to reiterate that this is something that the Ministry of Health, that Jamaica is on the lookout for.
Yes.
At the moment, you have not seen or heard of any cases in Jamaica?
No. They're present. I am sure that, and I am aware that the PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization, that they recently held a workshop on chikungunya to increase the awareness of the healthcare workers in the public health system with regards to this particular virus and its possible introduction. So the Ministry of Health, they are doing their job.
All right.
I'm very pleased to see.
In the meantime, we still have dengue. Any quick word to persons in terms of preventing dengue, and also those persons who are currently presenting with dengue?
I would really encourage persons to look around their homes and to take all the necessary precautions and do all the necessary activities to remove any stagnant water that can potentially breed any mosquitoes, because the Aedes aegypti, the female mosquito that actually transmit the dengue, can actually transmit the chikungunya as well as the West Nile. So we have 3 viruses that this mosquito can potentially transmit. We need to make sure that our homes, the gutters behind in the yards, all these containers, the tires, etc., our plants, that where you have the containers that are collecting water, that we do not harbor water near and in and around our homes. So this is very important. Of course, use of bed nets if you know that you're having a high amount of mosquitoes circulating in your particular area. Then you take the necessary precaution, wear the long sleeve, use your mosquito repellent where you can, and also use your bed nets. Okay. And the ministry has been doing spraying of areas, particularly concentrating in priority areas first for the reduction of the population of the mosquitoes.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Sandra Jackson.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
All right, that's lecturer at the University of the West Indies, consultant microbiologist specializing in virology, director of the National Influenza Center, Dr. Sandra Jackson.
Informative. Change. The time is now and the place is here. Andrea Williams on I'Em'Hotp.
All right, so all of that, including the name Andrea Williams, was from November 2012 that we spoke to Dr. Jackson about the chatter we were getting, the possible introduction of chikungunya into Jamaica. Last week, 2 years later, the Health Ministry, by the way, at the time, there was no official word from the Ministry of Health about the country being on alert until we heard it from Dr. Jackson. Well, last week, the Ministry of Health says it was only a matter of time before chikungunya reaches Jamaica following detection of the mosquito-borne virus in nearby Haiti. All right, we just need some critical thinking on stuff like this. Let's think it through, talk about it. Let's talk while we're talking about this, about, our coconut plantation in Jamaica. What happened to the coconut industry? What happened to the coconut crop? What happened to the coconut trees? Oh, goodness. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about coconut. And let's talk about pathologies of power. Paul Farmer has done a good job in writing that book, Pathologies of Power. We should all get a copy of it. We had the President of the Senate, Floyd Morris, in the studio on Sex-Wise as on Tuesdays, and he mentioned that they were looking to table a disabilities bill in Parliament, and there is a report this morning in the Daily Gleaner, which says that, and written by Arthur Hall, members of the disabled community have welcomed the move by the government to finally table in Parliament legislation to give a full protection to persons with disabilities. The long-promised Disabilities Act of 2014 was tabled in Parliament by Labour and Social Security Minister Derek Kelly just over 1 week ago. And this was almost 11 years after then Prime Minister P.J. Patterson promised the nation that a National Disability Act would be introduced in Parliament to give legislative protection to members of the disabled community. We were trying to get Floyd on the phone, Senator Floyd Morris, to talk about this, but we're not able to. But in any case, we'll follow up on this. It's something that I know is dear to him, and he's been working on this really, really seriously. Protection under the law for people. Replaying that, she spoke with Professor Beckles on her program, Talking History Nationwide, two Saturdays ago, or last Saturday, I think it was. And here we are now, getting all of these requests from persons to talk about why, you're against the Anti-Reparations Commission. Why I really wanted to play this is that I listened to this interview and heard Professor Beckles answering some of those concerns that the anti-reparations lobbyists have. And so we're going to rebroadcast that. Thanks very much to Professor Shepherd and to Nationwide Radio. Hilary Beckles.
You were here recently and you gave a lecture to the students at Kingston College in Jamaica. Prof, why was it so important for you to talk to the young people about reparation?
First of all, let me say what a wonderful experience that was there at KC. Meeting the principals, students from all Jamaica, it really was an extraordinary uplifting experience. Mm-hmm. But, it all started, I think, when the point was made time and time again that one of the strategies being used by the European governments on this matter is to argue that slavery and the apartheid that followed the slavery, the emancipation, it all happened a long time ago. And if we can push this subject further and further into the future, the more and more difficult it will be, because those generations of persons like yourselves who have been in the forefront of this discourse from the days of Marcus Garvey right through to your generation, Prof. Shepherd, that when we are all gone, that the younger people will abandon this process and there will be a rupture of the process. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, recognizing that the strategy has been to time out on this subject, to push it further and further away, have delaying tactics, use all the strategies of delay and division, younger generations will be further and further away from the subject. So it was thought, and I celebrate you for this and all of your organizers. If the young people fully understand the issues, if they are positioned with the information to fully understand the issues, they will take up this process. And, of course, we will deflect, if not defeat, the strategy of timing the subject out.
Okay, Prof. But over the past year, I would say, increasingly, there have been many letters to the editor of the various newspapers all across the Caribbean. And so I want to ask you this. What, in your view, is the greatest obstacle to building momentum for the reparation movement in the Caribbean and the African diaspora? Because some people are saying it's the large number of blacks in the anti-reparation movement, seemingly in the service of Europe. Some people are saying it's the failure of Caribbean governments to fund the national committees, which then cannot mount any effective public education around the issue. And others are saying it's the campaign being mounted among a faction in Britain, black British people, who are opposing what the CARICOM Reparation Commission is doing. So all of the above, none of the above, other factors?
Well, it's always wise to recognize the reality of politics. By that I mean, whenever you are faced with a major struggle for justice, in the midst of that struggle for justice, there will be division. That has always been the case, and as historians, we need to understand that. You know, when the emancipation process was upon us, 1830s emancipation was on us, you know, you had maybe about 25% of the enslaved people who did not want freedom because they were afraid of freedom. They were afraid of the notion that they would be in confrontation with their owners. They were insecure. They were broken. They had no information as to, they had been living in slavery all their lives in slavery, and had no idea what this freedom would look like. So you had a minority who stood against, and, you know, but what? The majority of people knew what they wanted. And then we came to independence. You know, it's instructive to note that none of the West Indian governments took independence to a referendum because they were all afraid. All of them were afraid that if they had gone to a referendum on independence, that maybe they would have lost the referendum because the majority of people would have said, we are happy under British colonial rule, why do you want independence?
And some are still saying that. Some are still saying that from polls in Jamaica.
The leaders at the time, you know, Bustamante, you know, Eric Williams, Falls Burnham, Errol Barrow, they all said no referendum. We have a mandate and they're going to go on through. So we have now come to another crossroads in our history. Emancipation, independence, now it's reparatory justice. So you will get a percentage of your community who do not understand, who believe that it is confrontational of the European powers who enslaved us. And you will have those who just are, quite frankly, morally lazy and do not see the importance of moral justice. So you have all of that. But thank goodness what we have at the moment, we have governments across the CARICOM who understand the issues, and they are standing together going forward for reparatory justice. So expect resistance. The arguments that you will hear against reparations, we know what they are. There are about 5 or 6 arguments which everyone fought.
List those for us. Mention those for us, Prof. The 5 main bases of opposition.
You have people who would say, oh, this was all a very long time ago. Why are we bringing things from the past into the future? Well, you know, again, it's people who do not understand the significance between the connectivity. There are people in the Caribbean today who are living in ghettos, who are illiterate, who are broken psychologically, and they do not link their present reality in the Caribbean to what happened to their foreparents. The linking the dots together is something that they do not do very well. So there is a disconnect between their poverty, their disenfranchisement, their dispossession, and the past of their foreparents. Is not linked together. That is one issue.
Yes.
And you have those who argue, well, you know, why do we want to confront the governments of Europe? And again, it's because they do not understand reparatory justice is not about confrontation. It's about entering into dialogue reconciliation. It's trying to understand the relationships of legacy. It's about entering into dialogue. Reconciliation. It's trying to understand the relationships of legacy. That is how the crimes of the past have impacted the present. It is about seeking conciliation in order to remove the legacies of the crimes that have been committed.
But they say, why not go to Africa? Why bother with Europe? Because Africans were the main ones involved. That is a very strong argument here in Jamaica.
Again, these are very inventive arguments, based to some extent upon the mythology, the absolute mythology that somehow the African governments were equal partners to the Europeans in this process. This is absolutely not true. Let me give you a comparison. The people who import drugs into our countries, the hard drugs, the cocaine and all of that stuff that they bring into our countries to harm our young people. If you then say, well, our governments are partners in this, our societies are partners in this, how else could those hard drugs have got into our countries without the knowledge and the support? So, you see, and it is not true. It is just not true. There are always a minority of people who participate. And there's no doubt that there might have been one or two of the African chiefs who were partners. But let me say this. Whenever they did that, they were invariably overthrown by their own people. Now, understand the fundamental principle. You cannot transact a major international crime, whether it is slave trading or whether it is narcotics. You cannot do it without a local partner. Now, the local partner does not make the crime less heinous. It makes it more heinous because you have a few people who are now victimizing the majority of the people. And the majority of the people stand up against that minority. So when you go now for justice, the presence of that small minority is not an argument as to why the majority should not have justice.
Okay, final one, Prof. This one is big here in Jamaica. There are no victims, no present victims, and descendants cannot push this claim on behalf of their ancestors.
The way that you have to look at that, the governments of Europe were the custodians and are the custodians of the wealth of slavery. The governments of Europe legalized slavery and slave trading. The governments of Europe participated as slave traders and owners of slaves. The governments of Europe invested in the ownership of slaves in the Caribbean. The governments of Europe taxed slaves as property and extracted the revenue out of the taxation. The governments of Europe put in place the financial and fiscal measures to extract the wealth to build the countries of Europe. The governments of Europe then were in charge of the legal, fiscal, and financial management of slavery. They were the ones who are responsible collectively for the wealth of Britain and France and the Netherlands and so on. So the reason why we focus on the governments is because we say to the governments, you are the ones who are primarily responsible for reparatory justice in respect.
So now we're hearing that Nigeria has developed a global strategy against Boko Haram, adopted at the Paris Security Summit. African and Western leaders agreed on Saturday to combine their intelligence, information, and defense mechanisms in a bid to reduce the security risk posed by Boko Haram. French President François Hollande called the Islamist group a global threat that warrants a global response. All Africa has reported that the forum accomplished what it set out to do. On Saturday, that's yesterday, the Securities Summit saw leaders from Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, Chad, and Benin agreeing to share their technical know-how with Western allies, France, the US, and Britain, to defeat Boko Haram. The plan adopted incorporates the following: coordinated regional strategy to boost intelligence sharing, creation of surveillance and border controls, centralizing technical means and capability, military presence around the Lake Chad, security defense mechanism in danger situations. So, in effect, Africa. The 8 countries are already sharing intelligence information to retrieve more than 200 missing schoolgirls kidnapped by Boko Haram. This new plan goes a step further to prevent more attacks by the religious sect after fresh violence in a Boko Haram stronghold on Friday. French President François Hollande, who hosted the meeting, and the Islamist said the Islamist group wasn't just Nigeria's problem, but the whole world's. He said that they have links to terrorist organizations throughout Africa and could destabilize the entire continent. And this he said during a press conference following the summit. Holland stated, but ruled out putting French boots on the ground. He stated that aim was to identify the threat posed by Boko Haram and to deal with it. The organization, he said, is capable of endangering the lives of innocent civilians, of abducting young girls and reducing them to bondage to sell them. His Nigerian counterpart, Goodluck Jonathan, who called for the summit, has been strongly criticized for his handling of a girl's abduction. And Jonathan, Goodluck Jonathan says, I am completely committed to getting our girls back. Well, the girls have still not been returned. One of the things we said a few weeks ago is that depending on what happened in terms of the response to the kidnapping of these girls, we would here at IRFM hold solidarity on Africa Liberation Day. Well, a lot has been happening, so that solidarity here on the ground of IRFM is not necessary right now. So we push that back because here in Jamaica we've had at the Nigerian embassy one such already, and rightly so, being connected to our own missing children. There's a lot of chatter about this. The social media is driving this and has driven this to the point where there are lots of responses. The First Lady of the United States has responded. François Hollande has called a meeting, and so it is now a cause célèbre. And at the same time, even while all of this is going on, these big neck and big headed and big belly African leaders are meeting in Paris. These girls are still have still not been returned. They're still not found. And so while Goodluck Jonathan head to Paris and spew all kinds of stuff about wanting the girls back and so on, they've still not been returned. Let's see where this goes, because we have using like a hammer to kill a mosquito. You meet in Paris to talk about creating a surveillance at the borders, centralizing technical military presence around Lake Chad. Africa coming through the back door. At the same time, our girls, our young daughters, have been kidnapped and God knows what. This is what the African leaders have done again. China, we understand that China has also offered, and there's a segment in the program coming up in a short while where we're going to be talking about China and Africa, and just looking briefly at what China is doing on the continent. And one of the things that China has done in recent times is to offer assistance to Nigeria. Everybody's there: China, France, Britain, US. Everybody and them daughter and them sister and them uncle and all the military boots and so on, and still we haven't found the girls. So this is now turned into something else. We must call a spade a spade. We must speak truth about what is going on here. A backdoor in which to cement the militarization of that entire area. Military presence around Lake Chad, my foot. Military presence around Lake Chad. Is that the girls are in Lake Chad? If they're in Lake Chad, let us know if they're in Lake Chad. What is to protest the billions of dollars being spent on the World Cup, which begins next month. In Sao Paulo, thousands of families have occupied an area near the site of the opening match. Outside the stadium, on Thursday, protesters called for more spending on housing, on health and education. As a matter of fact, one person, Simone Pedro, says it's shameful, really shameful, not the stadium itself, but the fact that so much was spent on building the stadium, which has pushed up prices of rent in the area. And while there are no health services in the region, we don't have a basic doctor's surgery or a hospital. Why is that? because they choose not to spend the money on health or education, but on these works, which have only worsened our housing problems. So that's what the people in Brazil are saying. Riot police fired tear gas at demonstrators in Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro as protests erupted. Brazilian security forces gathered in Rio for special training with the FBI on controlling unrest. The training took place in partnership with the Los Angeles and Chicago police departments. What about the cries of the people? The people who are crying for healthcare services. The people who are crying for education for their children. The people who are crying for better housing conditions. You're training military people. The FBI is down there training military people. Interesting. Pathologies of Power. Get that book. There are concerns in the world of the internet because the FCC is now advancing new internet rules despite mass protests. The internet might not be so at such a level playing field, because now we're talking about free and we're talking about faster internet. The Federal Communications Commission in the U.S. has voted to advance a proposal that critics call a threat to a free and open internet. Hundreds of protesters rallied outside the FCC to protest a plan that would allow internet fast lanes by letting companies pay providers for faster access to consumers. If this happens, then the playing field is no longer level. The agency will allow 120 days of public comment before issuing final rules. The FCC chair, Tom Wheeler, spoke before the vote. And you can get more information on that by looking that up. But it is going to affect us. All right, early election results. Well, not early election, because now we're told that India has a new president, a new prime minister, nationalist leader Modi, becoming the new prime minister of India in what we're told is the biggest election in the world, India being one of the biggest democracies, if not the biggest. So, nationalist opposition leader Narendra Modi becoming the new Prime Minister of India. He previously served as Chief Minister of Gujarat. I do have quite a few friends from Gujarat. We studied together, and I remember the tales of 2000, 2002, of which Modi was at the center as Chief Minister when so many persons were massacred. He has not apologized for that. One of India's worst anti-Muslim riots left more than 1,000 people dead in 2002 in Gujarat. I remember covering that story for an international media when I was studying overseas. And one of the things that we found is that the man who is now the Prime Minister, who's said to be the Prime Minister, Modi, was in the middle of all of that. And he's himself a nationalist. And, well, let's see what happens. The U.S. government has banned his visa. He could not enter the United States, and now already we see where Britain has congratulated him. Cameron has tweeted, David Cameron has tweeted congratulating him. The US seems to be okay with it, and so we don't know. He's a man for the business. He's a private sector man. Let's see what happens there. After all, he's no Mugabe, is he? All right. Or is he? That's a question that we probably need to ask ourselves. Is he a Mugabe, or is he not a Mugabe? All right. Quick break and we'll be right back. All right. So we heard from Floyd, Senator Floyd Morris, who's in Florida, who asked us to call him in just a few minutes. And we were holding on for you, Senator, but we're not getting through on that number. So, let's see. I don't know if you're... Morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
I know you're there. I'm hearing you like way off. So let me see.
Yes, you're hearing me now?
The problem is in studio. Let's see. Hearing me okay?
Okay. I'm hearing you clearly.
We do have an issue.
Andrew, I'm hearing you clearly.
Right. Our listeners are hearing you very, very clearly.
Yes.
I know that everybody else is hearing the Senator apart from me. So what I'm going to do, Senator Morris, I am not hearing you. So I'm going to ask you for a statement on the bill that was introduced last week, the Disabilities Act. And because I'm not hearing you, go right ahead.
Okay, well, the Disabilities Act was tabled in Parliament on the 7th of May, and it came within the context of years of discussion, negotiations with the disability community and the government of Jamaica, and the Minister of Labour and Social Security, the Honourable Derek Taylor, tabled the bill after lengthy period, I would say, but as they say, there is never too late for a good shower of rain. And I'm certain that the bill will be passed in the Parliament before we break for the summer. Right now, the sectorial debates are taking place in the Parliament, and at some point in time during that period, the debate will be taken in the House of Representatives and then to the Senate for final ratification.
All right. Senator Floyd Morris, I didn't hear a word you said, but I understand that everybody else heard you. And thank you very much for that statement while we sort things out. Because my producer is listening keenly and she's indicating to me when you'll stop talking. So let us say, is there anything else you want to add? I can't ask a follow-up because I'm not sure what you said. But anything else you want to add? Because I think this statement is very, very important. I know this is very dear to your heart. I know it's something that you've wanted. You mentioned it a few weeks ago when you were here on another program, and that you'd been pushing for this for a very long time. Any quick thing?
Well, you know, I am very heartened, Andrea, that the bill has been tabled, because whilst it is not going to be solving all the problems of persons with disabilities in Jamaica, it nevertheless constitutes a major step in terms of putting in place measures to empower persons with disabilities, and I'm very proud to be a part of an administration that has seen it fit to push through this piece of legislation that is critical to the whole advocacy of persons with disabilities in Jamaica. And persons with disabilities can look forward to a new epoch, a new season in terms of how they are perceived, how they are treated in the Jamaican social and economic landscape.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, President of the Senate, Floyd Morris. When you come back to Jamaica, Floyd, we'd really like to have you in the studio again to pick up on this, to talk some more about this. Thank you very much.
A pleasure.
All right. It's an interesting... I've never had anything quite like this. But you heard, and I listened back. Obviously, the fault is not in our stars, dear Brutus, but in ourselves. Or is it Cassius? Well, the fault is somewhere in ourselves, right here in the studio. All right, so we have in the studio my brother. And, you know, we said Kensu I'Em'Hotp, and I'm not quite sure how you pronounce. I'Em'Hotp.
That's how I pronounce it. Yes.
Okay, so it's and how you spell the last?
I'Em'Hotp. Well, it's I-EM-HOTEP.
Okay, I'Em'Hotp. Thank you very much, my brother. Yes. Lecturer of African Holistic Health, and also your a director of the Melanin Clinic.
Yes, founder and director of the Melanin Clinic.
Founder and director. Studied with Laila
Africa. That's right.
Africa,
yes.
Who we've been trying to get him forever to come into Jamaica.
We'll get him one day.
Can you find him for us?
Yes, we can find him. We
contacted him on Facebook. We have written to every email address. He sent us numbers to say, call this person. Every year we invite him to Jamaica.
It will take place. We'll work on that together.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right, so very, very happy to meet you. You know, Sister P called me many moons ago and said, Andrea, when Sister P says Andrea like that, and I know it's something important, have you heard about the Melanin Clinic? And I said, yes, you know, Sister P. She said, I think this brother is somebody you should have on your program.
Okay.
That was a long time ago.
Right, yes.
And then I got the call again just last week from a different source, I think from a clinic itself, and I thought from Kafra.
Yes, that's right, yes.
And I said, no, let us not wait any longer.
Right, everything in its time.
Everything in its time. All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all. I just like what you said in your bio that you fell out of love with the European school system at around the age of 12.
Right. Yes. You know, as a young boy growing up in London, East End of London, I was very studious, very, into the schoolwork. But then it just hit a point where I just, just lost interest in it was just not stimulated enough for me, and I just went on my journeys, But
so let me ask you a little bit about that, because is that not so unique, especially when it comes to young black boys in Britain, of reaching the age of 12, 13 and finding that the system is either too oppressive or there's something missing, and that's so many of our young Caribbean, and I'm saying Caribbean even though we're saying, because we're talking about continental African as opposed to diasporic African, who find it stifling and have to say, excuse me.
Yes, I think, it's basically, there's nothing there, there's no, there's no unison there. The information is not tangible. It just seems to be out of sync with who and what we are, because we as ancient Africans, at the age of 12 years old, African child, after going through the rites of passage, was basically at the level of what you call a PhD today.
Yes.
On dealing with holistic.
You're talking about ancient Africa.
Yes,
right.
yes.
All right, so you're saying that, so something, there's a big gap. There's a chasm, literally, in how, in the Western education system.
Most definitely.
As at 12, though, how did you compute that?
Well, these are based on research that I've, studies I've done, because how it comes down now, holistic is the key, because when you learn in these different institutions, European, you're learning a non-holistic, you're coming from a non-holistic perspective. So, I don't mean to offend anybody here, but when you say a degree, that's 1 degree out of 360.
Yes.
So you're not learning about the whole complete subject.
True.
You see, so that's the difference. Once you learn the whole complete subject, you're on a different level.
And then you're talking about, and since you're pushing us there, let's talk about that ancient system,
right?
Which is the ancient Kemet.
Right.
Talking about the 360. Talk to us about that system of a degree, which is really the origin of where we talk when we talk now about a first degree and a second degree. And many people are at the third degree and they think that they've reached the zenith, but that as Africans, we our ancestors, our foreparents, ancient Kemetians, took it to a whole other level, 360.
Right.
Talk to us about that.
Right, because when we're talking about, let's say, African holistic health, when we say health, people think, well, it's just medicine, food, exercise, and so forth. No, health, when I say health, I'm talking about things you spiritually digest, mentally digest, emotionally digest, and your food that you digest, so health is very complete, holistic, so we have to look at how it affects all those different aspects of the mind. A person who is displaced from their original home on the planet Earth is going to suffer spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical deficiencies. And so it's very wide. It's not just about what you eat and what medicine you use. It's the music you listen to, the clothes you wear, the name you use, the education system, your religion and so forth. It's all part of a culture. It's very important.
And this is interesting because so holistic and holism, as you pointed to, and you said the Melanin Clinic is that the objective is holism. But it seems so complex, and I'm sure that for many persons listening to this who are stuck in the orthodox way of thinking, which is I feel ill, I go to the doctor, I get medication, I feel better, and then wait for the next one. You're saying that if we're dealing with health cannot be just an element of something that is a more holistic thing, which is, the thinking, what you hear, what you see, what you participate in, and so on. Break that down for us in terms of contextualizing it or comparing it with the Orthodox system.
Okay. Well, the Orthodox system, for number one, they're treating symptoms. As most of us know, we're treating symptoms. So you have a problem, you have diabetes, they say, well, it's your pancreas. Now, the pancreas has many different diseases related to it. Diabetes is not a pancreatic disease. Diabetes is a bodily disease. Diabetes is saying, well, the body has energy available for use, but the body cannot detect it. It's a bodily condition. This is why the kidneys go down, the heart goes down, and everything starts to follow on behind it. You know, so holistic is the only health. You know, but then one would say also diabetes, is it really a bodily condition? If we're going to walk with the premise that we just highlighted there, isn't it a mental issue? Isn't it a spiritual issue? Because for somebody to start putting poison in their mouth, this is self-inflicted, you know, destruction. What happened to their spirit? Because now they're detached from their real food, which is what God prescribed for them. Then comes what happened to their mind. What type of mind walks into a shop and picks up destructive food and puts it on a plate and cooks it? What type of mind is this? You see? So you have a spiritual detachment first and foremost. Because when I say spiritual, I'm talking about your connection to nature. You see, now nature would be the manifestation of the Creator, God, or whatever name we need to use. You see, so right there it stands. So many of us are going to church, but how many of us are spiritual? How many of us have that connection? You see, then what happened to our minds? Why did the school, why are we not learning about, listen, people go to school and, you know, we got people graduate biology, chemistry and so forth, but they don't know how to care for themselves. Like, you know, when it comes to food and diet. And exercise, they don't know how. So what's going on there? Because you're going to an institution that's teaching you about biology, which is the human body, but you don't know how to care for your own body. This is what I mean about it's non-holistic.
Where is the disconnect?
The disconnect is in the curriculum. The disconnect is in the we've been misinformed, undereducated, diseducated. You know, this is where it's come. So we have now re-educated the people. You know, melanin is the most predominant biochemical in existence. It goes beyond the physical, but yet still, you know, we're not taught nothing about it. However, you have the certain scientists on the planet that they gather every 3 or 4 years to study pigment. They just change the name. You see?
All right. Well, let's talk about the Melanin Clinic, because you have actually I don't know if you're from England originally.
Yes, I was born in England.
All right, so you're born in England, and so you've come into Jamaica, and what you've done is to set up what you call a Melanin Clinic. I mean, you could have called it anything else.
That's right, yes.
But you chose to call it the Melanin Clinic. So that, so melanin for you is how important is that?
Right, it's a very profound reason why we've used this name, because melanin comes from the word melas, meaning black. Now, it's just a Greek word we're using to basically describe a dark pigment or a combination of all colors that is the organizer behind the birth of the sun, coming down to the waters, into the earth, into the plant life, and into human beings. It is the thing that controls your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical bodies. You know, in their books, they have this thing called the pineal gland. Then they talk about melatonin, and they talk about serotonin. Melatonin controls the daytime cycle. Serotonin controls, no, the other way around. Melatonin controls the nighttime cycle. Serotonin, your daytime. So it's telling you right there that these hormones that are secreted from the pineal gland regulate the whole bodily system. So melanin is your first line of defense, and a black person who is ignorant of melanin is going to be exploited every single day, in and out.
So in holistic health, is melanin the center of where the treatment is? Because you also talk about exercise, you talk about what you hear. How is melanin involved in all of that holism?
Melanin is involved in everything. I mean, for example, every drug that they give you out, there's a saying from Eli Lilly, that's a drug company, that says if a drug doesn't work on melanin, it's not a drug whatsoever. You see, so melanin basically, you know, it goes across the board. You know, it's how we breathe. You know, it's the exercising. It's what we eat. We should be eating melanin foods. Fruits stimulate melanin. Vegetables stabilize melanin energy. You see what I'm saying? So yes, you know, relaxation, proper sleep, because melatonin kicks in at its peak at 10 p.m. So we should really be getting down to sleep, you know, 9 p.m., you know, those sort of times. So melatonin can work, you know, at its best at nighttime to regulate and restore the bodily system throughout the night.
All right, and I'm going to stay on melanin a little because I want a better understanding. I want our listeners to understand how important that is.
Yes.
Because when you talk about, you know, the sleeping and the cycle and all of that, you're saying that melanin is responsible for how that happens. Melanin is complicit in how that happens.
Yes.
And so maybe let us spend some more time talking about what melanin is really. And how is it so that melanin is this important to almost everything health-wise, everything holistic?
Well, the key starts in this. My motto of the company is, you were made with nutrients, and only nutrients will maintain and repair you. Now, melanin is a composition of nutrients, elements, carbon, you know, and various amino acids, nitrogen, you know, oxygen. So we're talking about the elements from the ground. Every single thing that we look around in this studio, in our clothes, everything goes back to the elements that come out of the ground. So melanin is a composition of all those elements, you see, and therefore it formulates different things and it moves at different speeds, as you know, as and when it's supposed to. For example, high blood pressure. High blood pressure means that now your melanin cycle is moving too fast. We call it, in the medical system, they call it sympathetic stress. If it's moving too slow, they call it parasympathetic stress. These are the Greek terms for it. You see what I'm saying? But simply saying you're burning too fast, and you can end up, your melanin can become insufficient in your body if you burn it out. This is what's happening to most people who have high blood pressure for a long time. Then they can also get on the other side where it burns out. Now it becomes deficient. What we would call now, you know, your melanin you're burning too slow. You can die from either way. You can die burning out fast and have a heart attack. You can just fade away slowly. All diseases are bipolar. You have two different wings to all disease. This goes back to the male and female principles of the universe. You see? So that's what melanin goes back to. The male and female principles of the universe. They would say centripetal and centrifugal, positive, negative, up, down, in, out, but it's male, and better still, it should be female and male. Female is the nighttime cycle, melatonin. Male is the daytime cycle, serotonin.
All right, hold that for us. We're going to take a quick break and come back. Okay. Speaking with our brother, I'Em'Hotp, lecturer of African Holistic Health. And we're talking about the Melanin Clinic here in Jamaica, but also looking at holistic health, looking at holism. As he says, holism is the objective of the Melanin Clinic. Right back.
Only Optical Elements has the latest technology lenses and frames to suit your taste and budget. Visit us at 67 Halfway Tree Road, online at opticalelementsja.com or call 929-8284. Optical Elements, vision in style. The time by Optical Elements is...
Now, 2 minutes after 8 o'clock, you're inside of the Africa Forum. It's Running Africa, and we really wanted to open the phone lines, and we can still open the phone lines because, you know, I know you can hear. You actually heard Senator Floyd Morris a while ago,
that's right,
which is a very strange situation, and I'm not hearing anything. So we can open the phone lines because Kensu can actually take your calls, respond to them, and I'll just X myself out of that. Well, it's good. You're also a broadcaster.
That's right.
So you can certainly handle this. All right. Okay, so we're talking about the importance of melanin, and you're saying that melanin, at the end of the day, is a male and a female principle, which is a balance.
Right, and that is life itself, simply said. You see, we're being taught that it's melanin. Most people know melanin as the pigment under the epidermis of the skin, you know, the layer of the skin. But it's much more than that. You know, it works in the brain. They have an area called the substantia nigra, black. And they have, you know, it's in the reproductive system. Your pineal gland is closely related to the reproductive organs. So a person that is understimulated by light, sunlight, as most of us are growing up, is prone to reproductive issues as in adulthood, you see? So, you know, it works in the digestive system. Many of us, you see, with digestive issues, ulcers, gastroenteritis, and all these issues because we are not working in accordance with who and what we are.
All right, so what I'm going to do is open the phone lines to have our listeners talk to you directly, even while we interject in between. 974-5079, 5051, 5043, and 1-888-991-4152 are the numbers to call. We're taking your telephone calls because we think that you need to get your questions in on this one, and we don't have a whole lot of time. So we're opening the phone lines even while we talk to our brother I'Em'Hotp, about the Melanin Clinic and the importance of melanin in holistic health. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Hello, caller, good morning.
Greetings.
All right, Hotep. Go ahead, Ken. I'm not hearing.
Am I clear?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. How detrimental is flesh eating to melanin in the human?
Okay, right.
Especially the black human.
Right, yes. Well, it's very detrimental, in a nutshell, because, your body was not designed to consume flesh. This is the issue here. Our bodies were not designed to consume flesh. Various aspects. We can look from the stance, from our everyday activities, to how we hunt for food, to our digestive systems, to how we have to tenderize and prepare the food. So there's so much evidence to kind of conclude that our bodies were not designed as carnivorous beings. Yes? Now, flesh is an animal. You have animals and you have human animals, but they're all classified as animals. So if we're eating animals, then we now fit into the classification of cannibals. Okay? Because you're eating of your own kind.
Yes.
Yes, so it is very detrimental. It is flesh, all animal dead flesh is acidic. It's acidic, meaning that it's lacking in life. So when it goes into the body, it makes the body more acidic. Your body burns faster. It makes your organs erode faster. Every time you cook it, you have carcinogens. That's cancer-causing agents. You see? And then we put oil and we put all these other things in there to make it even worse. You understand what I'm saying?
Doctor, you spoke about cooking just a while ago. What about that eating raw?
Well,
some people do.
Right, some people do. But you see that again, it comes back to the acids in the meat is not speeding through our bodies quick enough. It doesn't speed through our bodies. But that is, if you're going to eat it, because in the decline of the African civilization thousands of years ago, in the decline, yes, there was a small consumption of meat that took place, but it was eaten raw. But that's in the decline. You understand? When the culture was being deteriorated.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Bless.
All right, thank you, caller. We're still trying to sort out the issue that I'm having, and we're working on that seriously as we continue to take your telephone calls at 974-5079, 5051, 5043, and 188. 7 minutes after 8 o'clock. A little bit about the Melanin Clinic, what you do there, and how persons can access it.
Okay, all right. So the Melanin Clinic, we have offices in Mandeville, Kingston, and Montego Bay. And first and foremost, my thing is a thorough and accurate health assessment. This is something that we have been basically denied for a very long time, a proper assessment in accordance with who and what we are, you see. So I've been trained and certified by Dr. Laila Africa to understand the language of the body. So the eyes, the nose, the ears, the skin, the hair, everything speaks. The language is the body is the scene of the crime, yes? So the body expresses everything it goes through, you understand? So this is where it starts with. That's the first part of my assessment. Then we go into, we analyze urine and saliva and blood pressure. Those also, numbers are a language. So when we go into the blood pressure is the numbers trying to tell you something. So we have a gauge to translate that language of the numbers. Same with the pH, urine and saliva and so forth. We have a questionnaire we go into that helps us to understand, again, just to reconfirm, cross-reference the status of the glands and the organs and so forth. So those are the three things that we start with, an assessment, a thorough and accurate assessment, so we know exactly where the individual is. Many times people come into me and they say they've had ultrasound, they've had this, they've had that, with machinery, because this is another part of our fall from grace, that we now depend on machinery. We exalt machinery higher than the faculties of human beings, you see. And the human body was created by the greatest scientist ever, which will be the Creator God, by his many names. So, we have to understand where the accurate and the most precise assessment is going to take place, because machines don't smell, they don't see, they don't touch, so many times people have come into me and they say, well, they've had this ultrasound and so forth. They say, my kidney's all right, my liver, my this is all right. But we're looking and your body's expressing, contrary to that. You see what I'm saying? So this is where we start. Once we get that part right, now we can put together a program using herbs, food, supplements, and so forth.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Hotep?
Greetings.
Greetings.
Yeah, Virgin, I must say Africa is in the mind, because I heard you mention of the pineal gland.
Yes.
And I lived in Europe also, lived in London.
Right.
And we did a lot amongst European people. And I touched this subject because it's dealing with psychedelics,
Okay.
And there's a brother named Kiwindi. He's African-American. And he visited many times, and he speak about mushroom.
Okay, yes.
And it's an alkaline food, So I just want to ask, how much have you used psychedelic drugs to induce or to the consciousness or whatever, and if you know anything about magic mushroom, because I've been identify magic mushroom. I've ate magic mushroom. I've ate mushroom. I've never taken magic mushroom, but my friends around me take magic mushroom, and they talk a lot about the pineal gland and a lot the expansion of consciousness.
Yes.
So this whole thing, I would like, for you to explain to the masses more about.
Or do you want to hang up and listen?
Yeah. Yes, brother. Let me just say this. I mean, there's so much talked about on the pineal gland. In reality, its name is the pineal body. But you got to watch out there, because what's happening is things that are naturally inborn to us as Africans.
All right, hold a sec for me.
I will listen for more of the.
Yes, right, because you do have your radio on, and that tells me that I'm not hearing. All right, okay.
Sorry, because I'm using the phone.
All right, never mind. Hang up. All right, so we're back on the grid.
Yes.
I figured it out all by myself. All right, go ahead,
yes.
Doc. Yeah.
Right, so the pineal body. Now, we have a lot of European information out there, because they are now excited by this, which they always get excited by things that are natural and normal to us. So you hear about psychedelic drugs and so forth, and they talk about these properties within the pineal body, and basically able to be stimulated, and then they move into drugs like ecstasy and so forth. But you have to really get back to the natural side of it, where you just need to, nourish your body naturally, relax, get into your exercise, get plenty sunlight, fresh air, good water, and so forth, and allow the gland, and the sleep, of course, and allow the gland to do what it needs to do, But
and you talk about the sleep,
yes.
so sleep is very important.
Very important.
What about lighting then?
Yes, sunlight is, like I said, sunlight is very important.
What about that bulb that you have there? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm only here for a short while, so I'm okay. Yes, because, we do have a lot of adverse rays around us as well.
So let's talk about the adverse rays, because we have the cell phone sites,
yes,
we have, the lights, we have the Cuban light bulbs, and the other kinds of bulbs, and so on. So how do these affect or impact melanin and then ultimately holistic health?
Yes, well, definitely. I mean, you took mobile phones, and all these different gadgets, the laptops and so forth, because our body, as melanin bodies, absorb those much higher than any other body. So, and when we store that energy, it works like radiation in the body. It can burn the body. When you have a mobile phone to your head for so long, you feel the heat. You see, so yes, we do have to be very mindful of these radiation that's coming.
And I interrupted you because you said that, because you actually were saying sleep is pretty important.
Yes.
As part of the cycle of health. Let's go back to the phone lines, Hotep. All right, you have your radio on, Hotep. Hotep, my brother, Hotep, my sister, you've got your radio on. You're live on air. Turn your radio off. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, turn your radio off. All right, and then we just remind all of you to do so once you come on. Turn your radio off, because there is a delay system, so you're hearing us a little after we have spoken, and that is confusing. Are you back with us, my brother? Hello? My brother, are you back with us? No? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, Hotep.
Hotep.
Doc, discussing eating meat. I know in some cultures they let the meat decompose. Do you have an opinion on that, the value or minuses on that?
They allow the meat to decompose. For 2 to 3 days before they consume it. Yes, I've heard that. And do they cook the meat? Are you talking about cooking it after?
No. It's the thing about eating raw.
Yes.
And but not straight raw. There's a certain level of decomposing to take place.
You have people in Jamaica eating meat raw.
Pardon?
You have people in Jamaica I've met personally eat meat raw. Now, as I was saying about understanding the language of the body, those people, I offered them a free health assessment to see, so we can get the results of the effects of what they're doing. You see, it hasn't been taken up. But, from what I saw, the meat, their diet was destroying them. You see, because what I'm saying is that the body is not made. You're not a carnivorous animal. Human beings are not.
I accept that. I just want an opinion on the decomposing element of it.
Okay, right, yes. I mean, you see, to eat the meat and have the enzymes, the fresh enzymes, yes, live enzymes would be better for digestion. would be better for digestion. You see,
so you're saying the enzymes are not live if it starts to decompose?
They start to die off.
Yeah, but so you're saying the enzymes are not live if it starts to decompose?
They start to die off.
Yeah, but but what other elements come into play in a decomposer? I mean, some sort of a bacteria or whatever it is, or different type of enzymes.
Yeah, well, it starts to mold. Yes, it starts to mold and move into its next stage of life, if you like. Yes, it starts to mold and move to its next
But you're aware that in some cultures, we're not just talking about Jamaica now, some cultures elsewhere in the world, that they do that.
They eat what, raw meat?
No, they decompose meat. Yes. Uncooked, decomposing.
Yes. How much of their diet?
Touch. Touch.
Sorry.
Touch.
That's a Jamaican term.
Because we were talking about decompose, and all of us, I mean, most people don't say touch, touch. All right, so...
Okay.
So how much of their diet would be, at that level? That's what. How much of their diet would they eat in that way? This is the question.
No, I don't have an assessment of that, though.
Yes.
My brother, it's a big thing in Jamaica.
In a meal if they do that.
He's so right. It's a big thing in Jamaica, especially with pork. A lot of people want them pork touch. It is what it is, and it can't be good. All right. Thank you, my brother.
All right. Good.
Yes.
That can't be good.
No, man, that can't be that good. I've seen the results of that.
Okay.
Yes, I've seen the results.
What's the result of that?
The results of that is, inflammation, infection in the vessels, the circulatory system, liver damage, kidney stress, these are the things that are expressed from the face. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I said, I did offer these people a free health assessment. It wasn't taken up. Yes.
I can understand why you want a man to come out of his comfort zone. Now he's going to work. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Hotep, my brother, go ahead.
I'm hot. Doc.
Yes, greetings.
Yeah, man, greetings to you. I'd like to ask you something. Oftentimes I hear in the medical system, doctors usually say that we, as human beings, born with cancer cells.
Born with cancer cells, okay.
Yeah, they say that cancer is a natural cell. That is.
Yes.
I would like to say,
yes, all right.
Explain what they do they mean that, because it's the cell is cancer. And cancer is a bad thing. Who can be born with cancer cell? And they say sinus is also a natural cell that is developed. And you as a man that study original medicine, health from Africa, should know. Or would you explain that?
All right. Cancer, look, it's first, you see, with many things we use, and this is another point I want to highlight. These Greek terms, we're all buried under Greek terms. We are Africans buried under a Greek health system. Cancer, really, when it gets down to it, is a conglomeration of various conditions in the body. When your cells lose up to 60% of their oxygen level, now is what you're having what they call cancer. Yes? Now, so what does that mean now? So now, in regard to your question, cells are always giving and taking oxygen. When the oxygen level goes down, not to 60%, but when it drops, now they will say it's going into cancer. But the immunity, it's called the immunity. They say immune system, but there's an immune system has never been found. Immunity, your immunity brings it back up. Do you understand? So, yes, in a sense, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about when the cells, the oxygen level drops. But they're always raising and reducing in the body. That's a natural cycle of cells. You see? So, but it doesn't mean that the cells are cancerous. No.
No. What they're saying that the cell itself, by nature, by the law of nature, would you have cancer cells?
Look, we have different schools of thought. Yeah, listen, we have different schools of thought. People need to understand. You have let's just go through it. You have a traditional Chinese medicine system. You have an Ayurvedic medicine system. You have a European allopathic medicine system, and we have an African holistic. But the African holistic has been hidden or neglected for some time.
Or demonized.
Yes, you can. Yes. That's right. But Dr. Lail Africa is one of the many few that has basically, brought it back to the surface for us. But, many of our African scholars, doctors and so forth, they still jump to the Chinese and the Ayurvedic, so forth. Yes? But, so what I'm trying to say to you, a lot of our information is coming from another man's perspective, another culture's perspective of health. Science is an expression of a culture.
And so it sounds to me as if you're saying, Doc, that one of the things that we have to do is first of all, a paradigm shift, a change in the mindset in how we view things.
That's right.
Because we're looking through the lens, for the most part, of the Greek medicine.
That's right.
And so that we have to just dash that way.
We have to dash that away.
And then deal with the African holistic, which is totally different.
Totally different.
So until we're able to do that, we're still going to be asking questions within the Greek perspective.
That's exactly, yes.
All right,
so explain, could you explain the sinus?
Oh, the sinus is a cavity. It's just a cavity. Now, what happens is your toxins when your body's overloaded with toxins, it's now looking for a place to hide. Because
so there is no such thing as sinus is a cell.
Sinus, what is a cell? Sinus.
Yeah,
well, I think you're talking about sinusitis.
Sinusitis, you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's inflammation because you have a cavity where the toxins go, but the mucus chases after it because that's the job of mucus. Water is to get toxins out of the body. But when you have a place filled with toxins, then water is always there, congestion is always there. This is what people suffer with, and it gets inflamed. Itis just means inflammation.
Oh, what you said makes a lot of sense, Doc.
It's inflammation.
All right, thanks for calling.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, bless.
All right, I appreciate that. All right, taking your telephone calls, our brother Kenso I'Em'Hotp, holistic health practitioner here in Jamaica, founder and director of the Melanin Clinic, taking your questions. We're trying to get in as many of them as possible, and we do promise our brother that we'll just give him much more time very, very soon. Is this your first time running Africa?
The first time he is. Yes.
Well, that's not true, really. I mean, it's the first physical time.
Physical time, that's right. It was a long time ago.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Hotep? Hello? Are you there? No? All right, so we're not hearing anything at all there, and I'm hearing now loud and clear, so I know it's totally, that call is not there. All right, 974-5079-5051. 5043 and 1-888-991-4152 are the numbers to call. We talk a lot about Dr. Africa and the work that you have done and the training you have done with him, but you also did some work with Dr. Aris Lacham.
Well, yes, it wasn't much work as such, but he did trigger all of this.
Okay.
Because in a visit, I spent a few hours with him, let's say 24 hours, and he really, yes, triggered a life-changing experience for me.
And for persons who do not know, Dr. Aris Lacham, health food, raw food specialist.
Food scientist,
yes. Food scientist, that's true.
Yes.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Hotep?
Hello.
Oh, Hotep, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you. It's my first time in RFM,
Oh, wow.
But,
special welcome.
I listen to this program every Sunday.
Special.
And it's very interesting. But what I want to know, I'm a Seventh Adventist, and a lot of what the doctor is speaking about with health and food, we have that knowledge, but what I want, is there any books out that I can get?
Yes.
Yeah, in Jamaica. I want to, because a lot of books are there, and I've learned that a lot of books that speak about black people
all right, well,
are hidden. And I just want to get those information.
Okay. All right, so let Dr. I'Em'Hotp, I'm going to call you I'Em'Hotp for Dr. I'Em'Hotp.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So first and foremost, is a book called African Holistic Health.
Okay.
Now, you can get that in Jamaica. I know a place in Montego Bay. I know also in Kingston, I know there's a brother who sells those books.
Yes.
African Holistic Health. You can also get Nutricide. Now, these are powerful books. These are a good starting point, where I would definitely direct you towards. African Holistic Health, written by Dr. Laila Africa. Nutricide, also written by Dr. Africa. There's other books out there, but I'm an advocate of African Holistic Health. So, that's my vein right there.
So, we're in Kingston because I'm from St. Catherine.
What, for the books?
Yeah.
Well, there's a iNation. You'd have to maybe Google or something, or maybe.
Or he can call in and give us a contact number where he can be reached. One thing, though, is that he's at all the Pan-African events with his bookstall, selling this book and many other books in the vein, which you're asking. So that he's at every single Pan-African event. So if you do attend one, you'll find him there. Outside of that, we'll ask iNation to give us a call so that we can tell this gentleman who is calling IRFM for the the first time where he can be reached. I know our brother Miguel Lorne, downtown Kingston, does have a bookshop also. I don't know if he has some of these off the top of my head, but who else have one of these bookshops? But definitely iNation.
Montego Bay, if you're in Montego Bay, but he's, Montego Bay.
Yeah, Adwa Nutrition for Life in Montego Bay. They're at the conference, in the conference center area. They're also further in Montego Bay town. All right, so all the best. Thanks very much for calling, and we'd really like to talk to you some other time, all right?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. All right, let's see if we can get in two more before we go back to the break. 974-5079, 5051, 5043, and 1-888-991-4152. You've said, Kensu, that you found out by having a conversation with Dr. Arisa Cham that the cooking of food was unnecessary and a practice that had been developed to our detriment.
That's right, yes.
Talk to us about that.
Well, you see, food basically is prepared, you could use the word cooked by the elements, the four elements, the wind, the water, the earth and the sun most of all. The sun cooks the food in its growth process. If you want water, you got the rain. If you want a pot, you got the earth. You want the wind, you get oxygen and you got the fire. So when you get the food now and you go and put it in the fire, you're cooking the sun out of the food. You see, and this is what I learned. I realized that, whoa, not only, so many other fallacies I had undone at that time to reach to that point and to realize that this is a great big, fallacy that we're subscribing to.
So you yourself, you no longer cook for your own consumption?
I don't consume cooked food.
Right, so how do you eat?
I eat vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds predominantly. There's a wide range of vegetables, wide range of fruits, nuts, and seeds. That's what I live on.
How do you avoid the GM seeds? Because I know that for people who do raw food, for vegetarians especially, that we have a very, very serious issue with genetically modified foods.
Yes, we do. And, it is a minefield. I'm not going to say for a minute that I've got it completely sussed out, I just do my best. I make contact with the organic people where and when I can,
All right. Okay, let's go back to the telephone lines. Hotep?
Hotep, my sister.
Hotep, my brother, go ahead.
Hotep, my brother.
Hotep, brother.
I just like to find out when these researchers, these European researchers, made public their research on the African anatomy. I know that they've been using the Caucasoid anatomy for a while to determine basically what goes on, what they do for all humans.
Let me say
when did they make public? Yes.
Yeah, let me say this. See the Human Genome Project? Yes, a lot of this was carried out within the early 90s. Now, a lot of this sciences and analysis and conclusions and diagnosis after that is based on the Human Genome Project. But let me tell you this: when you look into it, you'll find out that there was very little black influence in the Human Genome Project. Right. So that tells you straight away that all diagnosis and results coming from that are going to be lacking. They're going to be biased towards Africans. Now, let me tell you about research. Research should be used to go and understand the science and the art of a thing. Now, what the Europeans do when they go into research and they basically take things into the laboratory and perform what you call acrobatics. They spin things around, fragment it, and isolate it, and then they bring it back to us as a new discovery. There's no new discovery. It's always been there. The body has not changed. The elements have not changed. You understand? It's always been the same. The body expresses disease in different ways, yes, but that, you may express, me and you may do the same thing, but you may express the disease different than I'd express it. You see what I'm saying? But there's only one way to die. The only way to die is to lose your breath. Again, you can be shot, I might get run over, another person cancer, but they all lose their breath of life. So we have to. Research is being used as a business, as a slave master. Research is the slave master, and the consumers are the slaves today. You have the cancer research going on. You have HIV going on, research. But for years, none of them have found a cure. You see what I'm saying? They say none of them have found a cure, but yet still they come out with what? With many different new medicines. It's all about creating these products, medicines. That's what it's about. That's what the research is about. Do you understand?
All right, thanks for calling.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay. All right, and that is why we probably have to pay more attention to people like the work that Dr. Sebi is doing in Honduras, and also the work from Alliance Africa and yourself.
That's right.
When I see Keanu between Keanu and the MVP Track Club tweeting that Shelley Fraser Price has withdrawn from a Diamond League. That's the news you're taking to me, producer? All right, because I've got it. Because I got it on Twitter. All right. Right, so the MVP Track Club is tweeting that Shelley Fraser Price has withdrawn from a Diamond League in Shanghai as she... We're back with you inside of the Africa Forum, Running African, in the final few minutes of the program. We're going to go straight to the phone line, so take your telephone calls for our brother Kensu I'Em'Hotp. He is a lecturer of African Holistic Health. He's a founder and director of the Melanin Clinic here in Jamaica. Was trained under the eminent and the great Laila O. Africa, and has been practicing in Jamaica for how long now?
2012, just over 2 years.
Okay, just a little bit over 2 years, doing great works here in Jamaica in African Holistic Health. As we go to the phone lines, Hotep? All right, so sorry about that. We lost that caller who's been holding for a while. We'll take a few more, 974. 5079, 5051, 5043, and 1-888-991-4152, addressing your questions, of course, to Dr. I'Em'Hotp in the studio. Let's go back to the lines. Hotep?
Hello?
Hi, greetings, Hotep.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to find out the location where it is.
Okay.
Or if you could give me a number.
Yes, basically, yes.
Because I'm interested to come by you.
Yes, sure. The admin number 582 01 84. And I have a direct number which is 869 98
91.
No. What it is? Your radio is on. You're hearing your.
No, the radio. Me the phone.
So, okay. So I said 582.
No, 8.
Yeah, I'm just going over it.
No, hang on, call him. Just hang on a sec. Just cross out everything that you just wrote, and then start over again.
All right. Yeah. Give me the direct number now, doctor.
All right. 869.
869.
98.
88.
98.
98 again?
Yeah, and 58 again.
58, okay.
869-9858. That's my number. But for appointments, it's 582-0184.
582-0184. That's for appointments.
Okay then.
And that's the number you call to make an appointment.
Where's the location?
Well, it's Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. So when you call, you get the details.
Where, sir?
When you call, you get the rest of the details. No, when you call, I'm sure you got your radio on still. When you call, you get the rest of the details.
Okay. Then. All right. Then.
Yes.
Okay, she really...
She's listening to double day, you know.
All right, so iNation, our brother who does so well with Pan-African books and holistic health books, his number for the gentleman who called is 466-3662. That's 466-3662. So that's the number for iNation. Give him a call. We have just a minute, so we won't take another call. So let's just ramp up in this segment. Okay. All right. If there was one thing that you wanted our listeners to go away with in terms of how you move forward now, after we've heard you in holistic health and taking care of your body and taking care of yourself and taking care of your family, what would that be?
Well, you see, for you to understand really what true health is, and, you know, that's so wide. But, you know, one thing I will say is that the spiritual disconnection has caused us to have too much faith in drugs. People, and this word I heard the other day, best drugs. Like we want to go foreign or we want to go Kingston, we get better drugs. How can you have best drugs?
Yes.
Drugs are drugs. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to send across the airwaves these days that we need to understand that drugs were never prescribed to heal us. I don't know a drug was healed anybody. You can come and tell me, but all drugs are foreign to the body, so they will deplete nutrients from the body and cause some. They can transfer the illness, but they don't remove the illness. So that's the main thing people need to understand is where to go for healing. Where to go, and that's a journey in itself. That's an education in itself.
All right, and how do you begin the journey? At least beginning right now, for somebody who listened and said, "Wow, I need to start this journey."
Yes.
Obviously, it starts in the mind, but
right. Well, as the word doctor, the true meaning of the word doctor is teacher. From the word dokia, it means teacher. So I would definitely encourage you to come and sit with us. Come and sit with us, and we teach. That's the first thing we do. We teach. It's not just about testing and stuff. We like to give information and to raise an individual so they can take the health care back into their own hands. Okay? So come and sup with us.
For guidance as to how you can start off.
Okay.
Because you have already made the decision that I need to make this change.
Yes.
They can come call you.
You can call me, or they can go on
talk to you.
Yes, on my website I have an ebook, a free ebook for those who you go to www.Melanin Clinic. That's MELANIN Clinic. Yeah, melaninclinic.com, and there's a free ebook you can download, which is the 7 biggest mistakes we make with our diet.
All right.
See? And then you can call me also, and we can take it from there.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kensu I'Em'Hotp, lecturer of African Holistic Health. He's also a talk show host and somebody who is willing and ready to sit down and have a conversation with you about holistic health. Thank you very much.
Could I just
quickly?
We got a seminar coming up in Montego Bay on the 8th of June. Okay, and I don't know if I can mention radio or so forth.
No.
TV.
Just go ahead and say you've got a seminar coming.
Seminar coming up on the 8th of June.
Right,
yes,
8th of June.
8th of June.
And where is it going to be?
Montego Bay, 65 Barnett Street.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. All right. Okay, we can mention TV, but we know which TV we mention. All right. Just a few minutes. Now we're going up to, thank you very much, Dr. Kensu I'Em'Hotp, lecturer of African Holistic Health. Just a minute or so before news time, and standing by with that, we already have Nikita Sterling with the local and international headlines. And then right after that, it will be time for IFM's Sunday Sports Diary. And we'll hear, I'm sure, more about what's happening with the Diamond League and what's happening with Shelley and Fraser. Also, China Road and Bridge Corporation Liaison and Corporation Officers Julius Lee says, we will, as much as possible, source inputs from local suppliers. He says China is there to create opportunities and jobs for Kenyans and not to take the same to China. According to estimates by the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure, the SGR, which will cover 609 kilometers of railway track in phase 1, is expected to spawn at least 60 new jobs per kilometer of track during the construction phase. And Mr. Lee says that where there is a local capacity, China will mobilize it for the optimal realization of the project. He says where it is absent, they shall create it through a deliberate focus on training and technology transfer to Kenyan workers. And that China's aim is to build a critical mass of bankable personnel with the requisite skills for constructing, maintaining and operating a modern railway service in Kenya. He said currently there are 85 Chinese employees working in the China Road and Bridge Corporation Kenya office, together with 1,582 local employees, and that the local employees accounted for a significant 95% of the total number of staff. Local employees are largely engaged in equipment operation, in survey and equipment maintenance, and project management, among others. But we're hearing some rumbles in Kenya about that, and not everyone is happy with the way things are turning out with that China Road and Bridge Corporation and the building of that bridge from Mombasa, between Mombasa and Nairobi. So we'll keep on top of that. China and Africa. In Sudan, a leading Sudanese NGO leader said on Thursday that a forum concluded earlier in the week in Khartoum constituted a new bridge to deepen historical ties between Africa and China. The third China-Africa People's Forum reflects the real communication, he says, between the Chinese and African peoples. And this was said by Mr. Amar Bashari, who is chairman of Sudan Network for National Non-Governmental Organizations. And he said the event is a popular forum that brings together the civil society organizations concerned with the issues of their peoples with the aim to achieve the biggest benefits for the African and Chinese people. The forum promoted collaboration among NGOs through the recently published Khartoum project, which encourages Chinese and African NGOs to complete joint projects, such as exchanging information on capacity building and training, and more involvement in humanitarian assistance and relief. China, he says, has created around 500 projects in Africa, where these projects have greatly contributed to changing the reality of many population groups. Mr. Bashari said the lessons learned from China's recent strides in economic development could benefit Africa, and Africa is indeed reaching out. More than 400 delegates from China and 27 African countries attended the two-day forum, which concluded in Khartoum last Tuesday. The first China-African People's Forum, you might recall, was held in Nairobi, Kenya in August 2011. The second was held in Suzhou in China in 2012, and now this is the third. China is going full speed ahead in almost, if not all, countries on the continent of Africa. Now, on May 5, Chinese ambassador to Zimbabwe, Ambassador Lin Lin, attended the handover ceremony of generators at the headquarters of Zimbabwe Red Cross Society. And so they handed over generators to primary and secondary schools, and that took place in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe also forging serious ties with China. In the Seychelles, on May 12th, Chinese ambassador to Seychelles had a meeting with Seychelles Education Minister Mondon, after hearing the reports of the 4 Chinese teachers on the status quo of Chinese teaching in Seychelles and UNICE Confucius Institute. The two sides had a detailed discussion on how to promote the Chinese language and Chinese language teaching in Seychelles. Here in Jamaica, we also have a Confucius Institute where Chinese is being taught. We still maintain that as we have a Confucius Institute, and I say keep the Confucius Institute, that one of our priorities should be also a Marcus Garvey Institute, Mwalimu Marcus Messiah Garvey Institute on the university campus. We think it should be there. We also believe that if you don't call it that, you call it an African Institute. You teach at least an African language or two. We have been talking about that for many, many moons. We're hearing some rumblings which indicate that at least might be considered. Don't know. We still wait. In Nigeria, Nigeria's main opposition party, the All Progressive Congress, has said it welcomed the offer of assistance by China and other countries to help find the schoolgirls abducted in Chibok, Borno on April 14. The support being offered by China and other countries and other organizations confirmed what the party says is a war against terrorism, that the war against terrorism is a global battle. It is also a Cold War that is being fought in Africa, and Nigeria is ground zero right now. In Ethiopia, and this is big news coming out of Ethiopia. This is big news, and this is just one of the many, many things happening in Ethiopia in their partnership with China. You know, we could be here all day now because talking about China and Africa, but we have just 2 to go. All right. The first overseas electric railway built to Chinese standards started having its tracks laid on Thursday in Dire Dawa, an eastern city of Ethiopia. And this is according to China's railway authorities. The railway, which will stretch 700 kilometers linking Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa with Djibouti's capital Djibouti, is expected to be completed by the end of 2015. And the investment in that is a total of $4 billion with a B US dollars. An inland country, Ethiopia depends on imports and exports on the port of Djibouti. It takes around 1 week for cargo to be transported between Djibouti and Addis Ababa by road. According to the Ethiopia Railway Corporation, The railway, once in operation, will reduce the traveling time to 7 or 8 hours. So moving it from over a week to 7 or 8 hours once this railway track is built. And it also says that the railway will cut transportation costs. The train will run at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour, the fastest ever in Ethiopian railway history. And Yun Lee, who is the general manager of China's Civil Engineering Construction Corporation, one of two major constructors, said that the track laying marks an important construction stage of the Ethiopia-Djibouti railway. Yun said the railway will follow Chinese standards as tracks, trains and signal systems are all made in China, and that the whole process ranging from design, from construction to supervision will be run by Chinese companies. We're keeping a close eye on that. The construction is the second transnational railway to be built by Chinese enterprises after the landmark Tanzania-Zambia construction in the 1970s. And let us just quickly go to Zambia. On the 7th of May 2014, Mr. Zhu Yaoshao, and I think I'm getting that right, the Chinese ambassador to Zambia, together with Mr. Pan Kinjung, the political counselor, Mr. Chai Jingxing, the economic and commercial counselor of the Chinese embassy, visited the Lafarge Zambia plant in Lusaka. And we understand that there are talks there for a tripartite cooperation of Chinese, French and Zambian companies in a fruit plant for its high standard of work safety and environment protection. These are some of the issues that they're looking at. And one of the ambassador to Zambia actually talked about, the Chinese ambassador to Zambia actually talked about how happy he was that a lot of Chinese companies in Zambia are enjoying good business and good business relations with the plants, and that he hopes the two sides could learn from each other and work together for social and economic development of Zambia. So that is China and Africa. It's a segment which we're going to be as faithful to as we are allowed to be so. Looking at China in Africa, sometimes we'll just read the news, other times we'll comment, other times we'll conduct interviews. And this is just some of what's happening on the continent of Africa. So while we talk and while we debate and while we discuss and talk about whether or not reparations is needed, reparations is necessary, China is working. China is working. I could not resist. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist that. All right, quick break. Now 13 minutes. Barba Blake Hannah talking about the petition that is now out for, I think, directly appealing to the Prime Minister, talking about the different areas that not just Barbara but many others have been looking at, even as the campaign to legalize ganja becomes such a global campaign. It is a campaign that has been on in Jamaica for the very, very longest while. But now we see that this campaign is taking on a new image, a new persona, so many people getting involved in so many different areas, especially here in Jamaica, which for some people it's still shocking to see some of the persons who are involved in the ganja campaign now. I was shocked for a minute, to be frank with you. But, nothing should shock us anymore. But anyway, so there's this campaign going on, a global campaign to legalize and to decriminalize in some areas marijuana. And so a petition, you might have seen it, it's now on Facebook, it is coming through change.org, organized by Barba Blake Hannah. The petition is calling on the government of Jamaica to do a few things before we go even further. So Barba Blake Hannah, journalist and author, activist, joins me on the phone line to talk about that petition. Good morning, Barbara.
Blessings, good morning. I should call you Kabu, but you don't call me Makeda, so Andrea, good morning. How are you? Blessings.
I call it Makeda when you start calling yourself Makeda. You should call me Kabu because I call myself Kabu, but you call yourself Barbara. So let us go.
No, I call myself Makeda.
Well, as of today, Greetings, my sister. Greetings, my sister Makeda. Thank you very much for joining us. And
blessings, my sister Kabu.
Right. So a petition, organized by you on change.org is out right now, and you're seeking a certain amount of signatures. But before we go to the signatures, let us talk about the background to the petition. Why was it necessary to send this petition out?
Yes. First of all, it's not my petition. I speak on behalf of a think tank, a group of persons. I am the person who was given the task to put it online and deal with the digital support on Facebook as well. And of course, I'm speaking to you. I am a spokesperson, but it's a think tank, a group of persons. And because of that, I want to name some of the people who have signed this petition before I even go into the petition. Ras Flacco, Ras Actor Black, Christopher L. Kaufman, Sonia Stanley Nair, Lakin Samaj, Lloyd Daguilar, Anthony Gifford, David Williams, Emma Caroline Lewis, Michelle Geister, Kevin Wallen, Claudette Beckford Brady, Christian Cork of Knutsford Express, music people like Dolores Sister Barbie, Ellen Collins, Gail Zucker, Empress Sativa, and surprisingly Angela Brown Burke, Chris Blackwell, and I see that you have signed it to my sister Kabu in both signatures, both as Andrea and as Kabu. Yes. Thank you. Yes. The background is that we felt it necessary to really make some statements about the proposals we see emanating in this new effort to legalize ganja, cannabis. Yeah. We felt that while some recommendations were being made, not enough were being made, and we felt it necessary to add our voices to the debate. Perhaps some of the things that we think are important, others don't, but we wanted to put some of the things we consider important forward. Yes. The most important of which is that we feel it's necessary to wipe the records. Mm-hmm. The very first step for ganja legalization in Jamaica must begin there. It's almost like an apology to those persons who were always saying, we need to legalize it. It's good for us. By those people who are now saying, okay, we see your point, and, sorry for what you've suffered all these years. Let's clean up the records and start afresh. Yes. So we put that at the top of our list of wants. And secondly, full legalization, not just for medicinal, but for recreational and sacramental. Full legalization is what we're calling for.
And that is as opposed to decriminalization, with so many, we hear in so many different quarters.
Yes, we hear that word being used a lot, and we see a lot of emphasis being made on medical marijuana. Yes. So we put that as number 2 on our list. And then we asked for the approval and licensing of 4 categories of marijuana producers, processors, producers, retailers, and the pharmacies. We don't see anything about allowing pharmacists to be able to dispense marijuana as is done in America. Mm-hmm. So those 4 approvals we want. We also need the government campaign that is happening to say that it will approve the deposit of marijuana profits at local banks. Mm. At the moment, I guess some of them could be seized under the forfeiture of assets if you're found in any quote-unquote drug-related crimes. Yes. So we want that. And then we really are concerned. We haven't seen how the money earned from the legalization is going to be dispensed and used. I mean, is it going to go into the consolidated fund? Is it going to go into the Ministry of Finance? Be dispensed and used? I mean, is it going to go into the consolidated fund? Is it going to go into the Ministry of Finance? What's government going to do with that money? Mm-hmm. And we are recommending that an independent agency be set up, and we ask that it be staffed by accountants, certified accountants, people who know how to count money, set up your annual reports for business, etc. Mm-hmm. The people who actually handle the money business, the independent people. And you notice, none of us are planters, none of the names that I call are people who plant or sell ganja. Yes. But we are the people who are really concerned. We've always said, use it to make our country better. So we want to see how it's being used. So we ask for such an agency be set up. Those are our simple requests.
Okay.
And that's what the petition is about, and we seek as many signatures as possible. We're almost at 200.
How would this, to what extent do you think this would make a difference, Barbara? What would fulfilling these petitions, with the government paying attention to these and signing off on these, how would this make the whole thing different?
It will add to it, because we still keep speaking about wipe the records. We really want to see that. If nothing else is achieved by this petition, we would like to see that achieved. We would like to hear government say, okay, we're going to wipe the records.
Yes.
Because the government has done things like they had a meeting where they've asked every ganja grower to sign a piece of paper saying I'm a ganja grower. And then also they said you must sign and say I'm not going to plant any more ganja till you legalize it. But on what terms are you legalizing it, sir, that you asked me to sign away my rights? So we put our voices to that conversation.
Yes, and Barbara, when I saw this, when I saw the petition and read through it, because you sent it to me in a while before I got a chance to read through the different points, I said to myself, it is very important to inject this sanity into the entire conversation, which seems to be a runaway on so many different sides. But that this level of sanity needs to be injected, needs to be reiterated, and need to be spoke about in many different fora, so that at least
Thank you for agreeing. Thank you so much for agreeing. I want to say, Sister Andrea, Sister Kabu, you asked earlier about when did we first get together on reparations.
Yes.
That was 2002. We got together again on Save the, and government has now acted. We got together on Save the Beaches, and this week the Tourism Enhancement Fund announces a big program to create beach parks. All around, recognizing the recent activism of people calling for our beaches. So here we are, another group of persons. There's no aggression and animosity in this. We are Jamaicans in a democratic country who have a right to let our voices be heard. So we are letting our voices be heard. And I want to say maybe this is the last time you'll hear my voice, because I want to emphasize that it's not me, it's not my petition. It's a group of persons, and I don't want, any feelings ones may have or want to express to me to derail this petition, because it's a very important petition. So I'm very glad to hear your comments, my sister.
How many signatures?
How many signatures? We've been on a week, and we have 200 signatures to date. We're looking for more. We have a Facebook page, the Jamaican People's Cannabis Development Council. That's a Facebook page, and it's easy to find. You can find a link on my page. Barba Blake Hannah is my Facebook page.
I got you.
I advocated 28 years ago, in the Orthodox Church. Give my new name as promise. Only some people call me Makeda. I love you. Love you, Sister Sandra Jackson.
Never mind.
Okay.
But listen.
So this is where we are.
So
we really first say wipe the records. We want to hear some sound on that.
Right.
And then we want to know legalization for medical, recreational, and sacramental. Those are the basics. And then we break it down into recognizing processors as separate from producers to retailers. Even the man in the street selling a little 50 bag, he ought to have that right. Do you understand? And of course, we must be able to have to go into a pharmacy with our medical marijuana certificates to get. I remember asthma salt when my son was young and a very bad sufferer of asthma, and we could buy asthma salt at the pharmacy, and then suddenly it was made prescription only, and then it disappeared. But it was a very good medicine, very good. So will we be allowed to buy asthma salt once again across the counter? Will I be able to go in like one can do in California with him? In Canada, I stayed with people, and the lady stopped with her prescription and went and collected her medicine. These are the questions we're asking, and we would love to see the organization that is running things now address our petition.
All right. And for those persons who wish to sign this petition, how can they find it? Once again?
They can find it at change.org. We're petitioning Prime Minister Honorable Portia Simpson Miller to license and approve these steps for legalization of marijuana. It's change.org petitions, Prime Minister Honorable Portia Simpson Miller. It begins. So it's not hard to find. And we would really like as many signatures as possible.
All right. Thank you very much, Makeda, my sister, for joining me this morning and for talking about this. I'm sure we'll hear much more about this as time goes on. And please, I know you said this might be the last time we hear you, but we need as many voices injecting this level of sanity into this as possible. So let us continue to hear you on this.
Call on me anytime. And thank you very much for giving us an opportunity.
The Malema, Joseph Malema's party, did very well in that election. We're not hearing much about it, but I think we should stop and look at how Joseph Malema, his party, was it the EFF? It was formed less than a year ago. As you recall, Malema was expelled from the former ANC youth, as a former ANC youth leader, and he really has an impressive showing in the elections, dislodging the DA as the main opposition party in the legislatures of two provinces, Limpopo and Northwest. So the EFF could play a major role in South African politics in the coming years, and we're paying some attention to that. It really has some serious appeal among persons who are disillusioned with the ANC, among some young people who feel excluded from the gains of independence, and among, those who are disaffected with the black majority rule in South Africa. So, Joseph Malema, the ANC won 249 seats, the DA 189 seats, followed by the ANC's fireband Julius Malema's Economic Freedom Fund with 25 seats. Now, that makes a lot of sense. So we're watching what's happening in South Africa. We're watching this very, very closely because this is just the first showing. And we always did say that Joseph Malema is a force.
Roads must be cemented into Jamaica's future development plans. We've been building roads the old-fashioned way for years and spending millions in repairs. Money that could be better spent on education, healthcare, and public services. We need to make a change to concrete roads now. Concrete roads are more durable and maintenance-free. We don't need Einstein to tell us that if we want better roads, we need to make a change to concrete roads. Concrete roads are our future. Carib Cement, more than just cement.
I'm in for Western St. Mary, Jolien Silvera, and the principal of Taki High School, Mr. Errol Basco. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Africa Forum once again.
Good morning.
To both of you, actually. We have met under all kinds of circumstances. And Julian, welcome to the family, because we've been meeting under very, very good circumstances. This one not so cool, but we'll talk about it a little bit. Mr. Basco, quickly before we talk about the fire and so on, last time you were here, we talked about how well some of your students were doing, especially one in particular, two sisters in particular. How are they doing?
They're doing fine. One is at sixth form at St. Mary.
Brilliant,
yes. The other is working at Jamaica National in Gale.
All right, okay. So good news so far on both of them. And it's a shame what has happened at Taki High School. For persons who do not know, fire destroyed sections of a school. Was it 2 weeks ago? Just about 2 weeks ago. Investigations are underway. We won't talk much about that right now, but can you tell us how far the investigations are, sir? Do you have that? No, it's Mr. Basco talking. What can you tell us about the investigations?
I can't say much.
Right, I figure that,
The police have been saying that they are getting some good leads.
All right, okay, so we'll watch and see. That's not all we're here to talk about. So that has happened. Let us let the police do their work. For the time being, though, the school is without its entire administrative section. I saw your tweets, Jolien, Member of Parliament, and they were heart-wrenching. Just listening to, just reading, I could feel your pain. You were there on the spot from early. Tell us a little bit about what happened there, what is needed there, and the cost of what happened in terms of what was damaged.
All right. First, I must say morning to you. Thanks for having me, and also to the listeners of IRFM. On arriving at the scene, I was in awe because I have known Taki from 1978. until that particular day. When, entering there, and I saw the section of the building, the administrative thing, totally gutted. I realized that not only the 1,200 students will be affected, but what shocked me, or what came right across immediately, is that, we have lost over 30 years of records.
Yes.
And that can affect many persons who have passed through such an institution. And it goes down to the root, where even those days where birth certificates were, persons never registered them, they used to use the postal agency at the time. And, they're trying to regularize themselves. Normally they would come back to the school even for that vaccination report that could give you your age and all of that. And that would be, the way to get a birth certificate.
So all of that. All of that is lost.
All of that has been lost. The records of the school, all of that has been totally gone. So in essence, what you're doing when we complete and we begin again, you're starting afresh. But one thing which came to mind, and I had suggested it to the minister, that all of these records in schools need to be, digitalized. Now we have the iClouds and all of these where we can store these information.
I was just thinking about that, because I'm thinking, so here we have an example, which is a lesson to be learned from Taki. I mean, a very sad lesson, Mr. Basco, in terms of what you lost in the records. You've lost, so people who need transcripts. That information is gone.
Yes, we are going to be having a challenge there.
Challenges.
The records in terms of the attendance records.
Challenges.
Gone.
So I could come up there tomorrow and say I went to Taki.
Yeah, man, and you got.
You'd have to investigate.
Definitely.
So, and I'm trying to get this right. If you had 500 students in 25 years ago and 723 years ago, you don't even know. You don't know the numbers. You don't know who you had. You don't know their names. You don't have the registers. You don't have anything.
No, because we would normally have files for all the students who have passed through. We would have a big admission register that would take care of everybody who has passed through that too.
So the admissions register is gone.
Yes.
So that is how serious it is. And then, Julian, I was also hearing about we talk about the administrative, we talk about the records, but you lost your staff room, you lost your kitchen. What when we say the administrative area, Mr. Basco, what are we talking about? What areas exactly?
We would have lost the principal's office, the bursar's office, the secretary's.
So all those trophies and everything that you had in your office, were they?
All of those are gone.
Okay.
Our book room, or staff room, or
your book
auditorium.
Room?
Yes. Auditorium, canteen, storeroom, tuck shop.
And when you talk about canteen, storeroom, you talk all the food gone too?
Yes.
All the food that was in the storeroom.
No, and most of all the equipment, the preparation of the food, and that's the fridge, the industrial stoves, the mixers, all of that has been gone. And the other thing which you look on the spin-off, how bad it is that, normally you have the school feeding program, which students do come in very early. The attendances have been up, we have been seeing the results. So, all of that has been set back.
Right. But school is back in session now. How are people doing for lunch and breakfast? Are people coming for a little bit?
We are unable to provide any cooking at all. So
you're seeing children not coming then?
The number is small. The number is.
It would have been small for the reason that you have that fire and people, tardy anyway. But considering that students are not able to access the PASS program, lunch program, and so on.
And let me put it in perspective, Andrea. Of the 1,200 students, we have like 749 of those on the PASS program. So those students all depend on a cooked meal.
And they were not on there because, the school was kind. They were on there because they had to be on there. They're students in need. So then, the work, I read in the papers that the damage is in excess of 40 million.
Yes, it is. And it could be climbing But there's out of every bad, good normally comes, and we're having intense discussions with the minister, and also Mr. Basco is involved. And one of the things is that the government now is mostly focusing on coming off of the shift system. So we're looking on ways and means that, we have to prepare ourselves. Maybe it wasn't coming this year for us, but eventually it would come. But I know now this is here. I think we have to gear focus and see how best we can come off of the shift system. The shift system now requires another additional 12 classrooms. And the minister has given me instructions to go ahead and look at a particular parcel of land and sort of engage that person into how best they could actually sell the land to the government so we could build out those.
This is very good news.
It is.
And Mr. Basco, I know how concerned you have been about the shift system and so many other different teachers, not just teachers, but the society in a whole in terms of, that late going home, that before they're going to school, and what students are losing in the process. Yeah. So that if in rebuilding, we're considering eliminating the shift system, and so how serious are you about this?
We're very serious. I had dialogue with the minister even day before yesterday, and he is saying that when we meet on Monday, he will advise me how we go forward. But I have engaged the owners of that parcel of land already, and asked them if they could put something in writing so I could hand it to the minister, the intent that they're willing to sell, and hand it to the minister, and then I guess the technocrats from there will take that up.
Okay, brilliant. So I hope that works out. And then now another thing, there's a lot of cleanup work to be done, even while we talk about rebuilding. What level of cleanup work do we have to do there? What is needed to be done, Mr. Basco?
We have done some amount of cleanup already so that we were able to begin school last week. What we have now, and we have targeted this for Labor Day, the burnt out section is not what we will be working on. There are 2 other blocks. So we are still appealing to corporate Jamaica to come in and look and see. Sometimes when you see it with the naked eyes, it tends to lend more support.
So with 2 other blocks, what's the work there that needs to be done?
More so painting. So we are going all out to see how much of the 20 other classrooms we can paint for Labor Day.
And power wash and so on.
Power wash, and paint, plumbing work.
Right.
We're doing some renovation to some whiteboard that we have there, some amount of electrical work. We had no electricity because of the fire. That went.
Right.
So we will be building that stand to take a new meter, so we can go operational again electricity-wise.
All right. So, Jolien, what you have done is to say the Labor Day project for St. Mary for the 23rd is...
No, what I have done, you have to realize that the Labor Day projects are selected far in advance and based on the theme. The Labor Day project that would be at the Richmond Police Station for St. Mary, the parish project.
Okay.
What I have done is that I have sat down with many agencies, arms of government and other private persons and asked them to come on board to see how best we can shift some focus to Taki. I must commend couples, Mr. Henry. When I called him, he normally has his Labor Day project, and he said to me that anything Mr. Silvero I will do. He was a past chairman of Taki High School, and we sat, we spoke. Then I went to NWC. NWC came on board immediately. Jamaica National contacted Mr. Basco, and they said all 3 branches, the Gale, the Highgate, and the Port Maria, they will participate in Labor Day. I spoke to the chairman of RADA. I said, listen to me, you normally have your Labor Day project up at the infirmary, which is an annual thing. See how best you could give us some focus at Taki, even with the aesthetics, planting of some trees, and etc., etc. They gladly jumped on board. We went to other persons, private people, and ask them how best, they could assist. And the response is overwhelming.
And being the corporate citizens that we are here at IRI, you didn't call us, but we called you.
I would not want to comment on air because, you wouldn't be, it wouldn't be favorable. But I visited Taki Friday morning.
Yes.
I visited IRFM Friday morning, but unfortunately, you're in a meeting.
That's true. That was a long meeting.
I know, but unfortunately, I came here with the intent to approach IRI, and you're in a meeting.
Well, you see, great minds think alike. so we are on board, 100%.
Oh, great.
We're even thinking of broadcasting from there.
Is that a thought, Andrea, or will it happen?
It will happen.
Now, say you're telling the general public that IRFM will be broadcasting from Taki High School this Labor Day.
Will the managing director please call me? Debbie, will you please call me? Yes, I think we can say that, and unless, it's really, but yeah, this is what we're thinking, and we'll be announcing it in short order.
Great.
That's a plan, and, it's good for a Friday morning for us too, because, we do all this music here on a Friday morning, and we'll just be more speakers while people work. They listen to some Beres Hammond, and you understand.
But
we'll be there,
There's one thing I'd like to state, though, that, as I've said, I think this would be a sad day for me because over 2 weeks ago I have been chosen by the Parliament to go overseas to a small arms conference, in the continent you preach so much about, Africa.
And look how me come with that's where the problem is.
The thing is that, I'm departing this week, and I won't be here for the Labor
But
Day.
you go right ahead. We understand that perfectly. We'll try and link with you in Africa.
Definitely, no problem.
Exactly. So that the project is going to be underway on Friday at Taki High School. And what are you asking people to do? What are you asking people to come with, to carry, and to expect to do when they come?
From my perspective, I expect that persons will come just with the focus to contribute their labor itself.
Should they carry labor tools?
No, I think everything would be provided.
Everything would be there, like
paintbrushes, paint, pans, etc. All of that will be there. Yeah. What is going to happen is that come tomorrow morning, there will be a meeting with the stakeholders to coordinate the project, because you don't want 300 persons turning up and they don't know exactly what they're going to do. So after tomorrow, every person who has committed will know exactly what their functions are on that particular day. And that is key. So, the music will be there, the food will be there.
And keep listening to RFM to know.
I think my dial is stuck.
We're so happy when a member of Parliament says that, Mr. Basco, because sometimes we talk to them directly, Yes. All right, so you don't need to take the tools. The paintbrush over there. Don't walk with your machete.
No, you can walk. You're not discrediting anybody.
All
but
right.
the main
you're planting
focus,
and so on, too, right?
The main focus is that persons just come out, labor with love.
And you're saying for food will be provided for people who are working?
Everything will be there. I think, Mr. Basker, there is a agency who just called, so they will provide refreshments.
Yes, we have Jamaica Beverages. Jamaica Beverage refreshment for everybody. That day.
All right, so Labor Day, which is May 23, which is Friday, we're all heading to Taki High School. Part of our responsibility is to help to rebuild that school after that serious tragedy. And right now, we're not concentrating on the area that was burnt out. That's going to take a whole other kind of work. But for now, it is the areas that are being used, how to ensure that they are more comfortable for students, more comfortable for teachers. Now that you have lost your staff room, where are the teachers?
We had to take the library from the children, so we are housing them in the library at this time.
Okay.
We have our good flagship program, our reading program. We had to take the reading room as well from the students to.
So where are the students who need the reading room now?
That is on hold as we speak, but we had to use that for the offices.
Rosemary Green, there's no way I can answer the phone while I'm on air. All right? Okay, Rosie. All right. I think we're getting calls from people who want to participate in this, who want to be a part of this. All right. So the reading room, the students who are in the reading program are now being
put on hold.
Wow.
Put on hold. It's sad,
that's not good.
Not good. But
no, it isn't good. You know, I always try to look, you know, to see on the a bright thing which can comes out of it. And the only thing I can see, you know, is the winding down of the school term. You understand? So therefore, I'm just hoping that the governments will come in and will try immediately that when September comes, we see how best, you know, we can have some normality returning or resuming at Taki.
All right. In the meantime, just to let our listeners know that one of the Labor Day projects for St. Mary is going to be at Taki High School. The other one, of course, is at the Richmond Police Station, was the national. But Taki High School, the parish base, but Taki High School definitely will need your assistance. That is where we will be, RFM, for most of the day. And we are very committed to this. We're going to be there with other private sector organizations here in Jamaica and in St. Anne especially, and the principal and member of parliament who will be in Africa. But we found a way to link with you, as I said before.
Definitely.
In Africa. Well, anything else you want to say quickly, Mr.
Yes, Andrea, you mentioned about people who want to help. And so, in collaboration with Jamaica National, we have since opened an account. So people who want to contribute can be there, want to help. We have an account number. Jamaica National Gale, and the account number is 104-28761.
Say that again, Mr. Basco.
104-28761, and that's Jamaica National Gale.
All right, so we'll have it here also for persons who want us, who didn't get it. Just call IRFM and we'll be able to give you that. Also, we'll ensure that it's written on our boards here, so our presenters will be, as of tomorrow, we'll talk about that and continue to give out the number. So finally, the number again is, the account number is Jamaica National Gale.
Yes, and it's 104-28761.
104-28761.
That's correct.
That is the account number if you want to contribute in the meantime. Thank you very much, Mr. Basco. Thank you very much, Mr. Julian Silvera, Member of Parliament for Western St. Mary. And safe travel to the continent.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us. But also, you know, just for information, it's National Workers Week. So I'm heading to a church service in Highgate.
At this minute, we're in Highgate. You don't want to say?
No, it's actually the church above St. Cyprian's.
Okay.
Is it? Yeah.
In the
heading towards Marymount. Yeah.
Oh, heading towards Marymount. Okay. Oh, goodness.
You know, so to all the workers who have contributed to building such a great nation.
Yes.
You know, happy Workers Week to you all. And to the staff of IRFM, I'd like to thank you for coming on board wholeheartedly. And we're looking to a fantastic Labor Day and our continued relationship with us.
Most definitely. Thank you very much, Julian Silvera, Member of Parliament for Western St. Mary, and Principal of Taki High School, Earl Basco. Keep listening to IRFM and you'll hear much more about the Labor Day project at the Taki High School. Of course, as I said before, IRFM will be there, and we're aiming to, and I think it's more or less done, that we'll be broadcasting live from the Labor Day project right here in our own backyard at Taki High School. Remember now, for more information on the account number, Mr. Basco, you're moving on. You're good. You're going to leave that with our telephone operator, with the producer, Joe Morgan. Call us, and we'll be able to give you that account number again. See you on Friday, Mr. Basco. All right, just a few minutes now, going up to 10 o'clock. A quick break, and we'll be right back.
You can pay your UII hospital bills at any Bill Express location island-wide. Call 1-888-555-5555 for more information. The time by Bill Express is...
Now, 8 minutes going up to 10, and in this 8 minutes, let me see if we can bring you the bottom line. I'm getting so many angry emails. Boy, the IRFM Africa Forum listeners can be angry when you're ready. We haven't done the bottom line in a while, so let's go. In the bottom line this morning, we want to talk about cruise ship dumping in Jamaica. It is something that we don't hear much about, something we don't talk much about, but it is something that we need to pay some special attention to. So here it goes. The bottom line is that in this harsh economic climate, we are hard-pressed to tend to the bread and butter issues. How are we going to send our children to school tomorrow? And if we do manage to find the bus fares, where are we going to find the lunch money and or even the dinner? The bottom line is that we are so locked into this vicious cycle of poverty facilitated by successive governments that turning our attention to environmental issues is for the vast majority of Jamaicans a colossal waste of time, energy and resources. But the bottom line is that part of this vicious cycle of poverty is a desperation for tourist dollars, which drive policies in Jamaica that ultimately sucks us deeper into poverty and deprivation, and from which we seem unable or even unwilling to extricate ourselves as a nation. The bottom line is that successive governments in Jamaica have participated in a game of Russian roulette with the environment that is guaranteeing the death of the island through the wild and wanton mining of bauxite, the ill-advised production of coal for export, carelessly selling off our wetlands to hotels and other tourism interests, who then pump their raw sewage into our rivers, into our streams and the sea, shamelessly hawking off our coastlines and beaches to the highest bidder, whether it's China or otherwise, and barefacedly facilitating the dumping of cruise ship waste and filth in Jamaican waters. The bottom line is that we must pay attention. We must pay attention to these environmental issues because one or all of them together ensure our continued poverty. We must pay attention to these issues because together they are bound to ensure that the children who we worry about feeding, schooling and generally caring for today will not be able to survive in a polluted and devastated land and country tomorrow. We cannot continue to tolerate the stench of cruise ship waste in our waters and tell ourselves that it is a smell of money and we will all benefit in the long run. The bottom line is that research has conclusively shown that there is a very strong link between the health of the ocean and our health, between toxic contamination of the ocean and our food chain, between the diseases we present with and find so difficult to contain and the food we gather from a polluted, contaminated, toxic ocean, toxic sea. Pollutants such as PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyl from cruise ship waste, and other garbage dumped 4 miles of Jamaica's shoreline are bound to find their way back to our dining tables through some of our favorite seafood, such as lobster, sliced fish, etc., and even vegetarians who eat fish are caught in this spiral of consuming food contaminated with deadly toxins such as DDT, mercury, heavy metals, and other PCBs. The bottom line is that evidence has shown that consuming these deadly toxins in seafoods can cause all kinds of cancers, nervous system damage, mental disturbance, food poisoning, and even death. And let us spend some time looking at mental disturbance. We have not stopped to make that connection between the mental health of Jamaicans and the food we are consuming, especially the food from the sea heavily contaminated with mercury, heavy metals. The bottom line is that the question must be asked whether the sudden surge in respiratory illnesses, fits, the brutish abnormal behavior of our young people, and the extreme violence being displaced in our society today might not be attributable in some part to the consumption of a contaminated, toxic diet during their growth and development. The bottom line is that other countries such as the United States discourage toxic dumping by cruise ship lines through exorbitant fees required for dumping wastes in their waters. While the U.S. has a deterrent to dumping through extremely high fees, Jamaica may well be a lucrative dumping ground based on the fact that cruise ship lines are charged little or nothing for leaving their human excrement and other garbage in our waters. The bottom line is that even the Cruise Lines International Association ominously reminds us on their website that whether we live on the coast or are completely landlocked, the state of our oceans have a huge impact on our day-to-day life. Healthy oceans, it says, are vital for marine life, for oxygen, for food, for jobs, for medicines, and much more. The bottom line is that even the Cruise Lines International Association gets it. And that is a paradox. The bottom line is that this need for healthy oceans also include the Caribbean waters, and in our specific case, the Jamaican waters, for which we are totally and collectively responsible, as we are all countries responsible to ensure that the marine environment is healthy, that as a nation we commit to the protection of our environment. The bottom line is that with the strict and stringent rules governing cruise ship dumping of waste in America's waters and the exorbitant fees for dumping, the recent finding of in Boston, Massachusetts, of a huge amount of human excrement, toilet paper, rubber gloves, flip-flops, plastic bottles, dental floss, condoms, personal hygiene items, contraceptives, and a urinal cake covered in a mass of disgusting brownish foam. This was found on a local beach. That this find, in spite of the fees, in spite of the strict rules and laws governing dumping in American waters, must be a warning to us here in Jamaica about what might be happening in our own waters. The bottom line is that we must ask questions about the practices of cruise ship dumping untreated sewage. How far are they dumping it? Or how near to our shores? In fact, where in our waters are they dumping sewage and other solid waste? We must also ask, to what extent are the tourism and other relevant authorities turning a blind eye to the dumping of filth by cruise ships in Jamaica's waters, and whether there is compliance? And we're talking about compliance with all international and environmental guidelines regarding waste.